Currently, I am on a journey. A journey traveling through the vast story of One Piece, dissecting it, and determining why and how I fell in love with One Piece in the first place. Last video, we started this journey with the wonderfully crafted Romance Dawn, which ended up igniting a newfound love for the early arcs of One Piece. So today, I plan on taking another step upon this adventure with One Piece's second arc, Orangetown. And Orangetown is a very intriguing arc for me. I absolutely love what Oda did with Nami and the themes and messages he's trying to portray here. Unfortunately, the story this time around is so incredibly mediocre that these wonderful ideas that Oda has are just so muddied. The mediocrity weighs so heavy on this arc for me that I just can't allow myself to regard it as one of the great arcs of One Piece. However, rereading this arc, I noticed a theme: the idea of one's treasure and what it means to a person. I feel as though this adds a great deal of substance to this arc and allows me to at least appreciate it considerably more than what I once did. But before we begin, I wanted to say something. Going forward, I plan to make a couple changes to the way I retrospect these arcs. I will mainly be talking about things that intrigued me throughout the arc instead of the semi-recap style I did in the last video. I decided to do it this way because I feel as though these videos would improve if I talked about things that stick out to me and things I have strong opinions on, instead of things that I have no strong opinions on but have to mention in order to progress the review. With that knowledge, I wanted to apologize in advance if I end up skipping over your favorite parts. I just feel as though this will make for a better, more concise video. With that out of the way, let's jump into the surprisingly complex Orangetown. The entirety of Orangetown revolves around this idea of personal treasure. From Luffy all the way to Buggy, each character in this arc has something to do with personal treasure. Whether it's obtaining 100 million berries or fighting for your town, everyone's treasure means something different. This is easily the single highlight of the arc for me. I love the idea of how something mundane can mean the world to someone. Oda perfectly utilizes this idea of personal treasure, and I absolutely adore with what he's done here. Now, our first exposure to this concept was in the 8th chapter of the manga. By interesting means, Luffy ends up encountering some of Buggy's goons. These goons end up knocking off his hat, in which he swiftly replies, "Don't touch the hat," and declares that it's his treasure. After this moment, Luffy continuously declares that his hat is his treasure, and each time his hat comes into potential danger, the typically light-hearted, carefree Luffy is replaced with the most serious and stern person imaginable. All because someone put his straw hat in danger. But because of the memories associated with Shanks and that hat, mixed with the desire to return it, it means the world to Luffy. And of course, Luffy's not the only instance of personal treasure either. Throughout the arc, we encounter Nami, Choo-Choo, Boodle, and even Mochi, each with their own personal version of treasure. Money and tangerines, a pet shop, the town, and the lion. However, there's one person Luffy comes across that just doesn't get it. His name is Buggy the Clown. Throughout the arc, he would repeatedly question people's treasures merely because they weren't sparkly or gold. Buggy only thinks material and believes the treasure can only relate to gold and jewels. I especially love Buggy's flashback. He only strives for material treasure, and when he has an opportunity for a new personal treasure, his devil fruit powers, he can only focus on the gold and treasure map he can no longer obtain. It's honestly kind of sad knowing that Buggy just doesn't respect or care for personal treasures merely because he doesn't have one of his own. Personal treasure is very prevalent in the real world as well. A watch, for example, may seem like a simple watch to a stranger, but to the owner, it's a very important heirloom. So the way Oda is able to convey this very real-world thing into such a simple arc, it's truly impressive. I adore this edition of Personal Treasure. However, it gravely impacts the rest of the arc. Everything else pales in comparison. So whenever the idea of Personal Treasure wasn't on page, I was just eager to get to the next Personal Treasure moment. Everything except for one thing. Nami. Nami's characterization in this arc is unironically so beautiful. Before rereading, I hated pre-Arlong Park Nami. But coming back with the information of Bellemere and Arlong, Nami might be my favorite character so far. The fact that in the first scene she's introduced, she accurately predicts when a storm is coming based on wind patterns. I mean, this just shows us how incredible she is. We see time and time again just how smart she actually is. She's always thinking on her feet and always comes up with plans on a dime. And this all adds to her character. And yet she is so much more deep than just a smart thief. Oda's portrayal of Nami's feelings towards pirates is really where her character excels. When Nami introduced herself to Luffy, she explained how she specializes in robbing pirates. And of course, since Luffy is a pirate, the reader immediately distrusts her. However, Oda is able to gradually feed us information about why Nami hates pirates, and she goes from a simple pirate thief to a damaged person learning to accept what she hates. At the start of the arc, Nami and Luffy have fantastic chemistry, but as soon as Luffy reveals that he's a pirate, Nami immediately conceived a plan to betray Luffy and give him up to Buggy. This made me really dislike Nami the first time around. Unfortunately for me, I was unable to understand why someone would do that to Luffy. He's so lovable. But Nami doesn't know Luffy. Pirates took everything from her. She hates pirates so much that she can't even sail with another pirate, even if they get along super well. And yet, even with all this hatred, when she was tasked to kill Luffy, Nami couldn't do it. Nami feels as though that if she kills someone, she will be just as bad as pirates. You pirates took someone dear to me. I will never become what I hate. She saves Luffy. She can't even bear the thought of being anything like pirates and decides to risk her own life for something that she hates. Afterwards, Nami gets to meet Luffy's other crewmate, Zoro. And this is where Nami really starts to think differently. She notices just how different Luffy and Zoro are from other pirates she's encountered. Zoro's incredible loyalty to Luffy, and Luffy's revenge on Moji for Choo-Choo further deepen Nami's realization that these are good guys. These are good people. So much so that Nami even apologizes to Luffy for yelling at him. And after Luffy defeats Buggy, Nami keeps up this facade of only wanting money, but deep down, she is slowly but surely learning that not every pirate is as bad as Arlong. Even though I've been giving Orangetown a lot of praise, the arc itself is mostly extremely middling. Aside from what I've talked about, I can think of maybe 2 other things that got me mildly intrigued, and both of those are related to Buggy. The rest of the arc isn't bad per se, however, it's unbearably average. So even though this idea of personal treasure and Nami's character are phenomenal to me, the rest of the arc is far too lacking for me to regard it as one of the better arcs. It's good, it's really solid, but I just can't get myself to love it. And even still, rereading this arc has made me appreciate Orangetown so much more than what I once did. After rereading this arc, I'm slowly understanding why One Piece was so important to me in the first place. When I first thought of recording videos for One Piece, I had a lot of hesitation. One Piece already was very time consuming, and making videos would exponentially increase the time and effort it took. It just didn't seem worth it. However, 2 arcs in, and I can confidently say that I no longer have any hesitation at all. Orangetown was my third least favorite arc before rereading it again. And it has bumped up from like a D to at least a B now. And because of all these changes in my viewpoints, I'm deciding to rank each arc in terms of my personal enjoyment. And this is how my list looks so far. I know. It's very, very interesting. But I'm sure by next week, many people will be very upset. Anyway, this has been a retrospective. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.